everybody. This is a good, nice size house. I love seeing this many people in the audience. So welcome to your city, your county, your state, and you. Yes, that's a mouthful and very fun to say. I am Tara Thompson-Cusack, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really excited to see so many smiling faces in the audience. We have a lot of ambassadors, volunteers, and board members, so I'd love to start by giving them a round of applause. I like how I'm moving my own slides, so I have to learn this as I go. But I just wanted to say, this is one of my favorite events of the year, because one thing that's really important and one thing that we all know is government plays a very large role in what we do in business and what we do in our home life. But we can remove the politics and have the conversation. And I think that's what's so wonderful about our panels. As they're laughing, they're like, not really. Which is why we have Karen Drew, who will make sure we stay on task of what we're discussing today. But guys, I just wanted to say thank you, and first thank our platinum members as well. All of these members are our top tier level membership. Wow, I did not have enough coffee yet. And they have done wonders for the chamber and making sure that we succeed. So let's give our platinum members a round of applause as well. Finally, I would like to thank today's sponsors. We have our presenting sponsor, Consumers Energy, which we will hear from shortly, our gold sponsor, Beaumont, our visionary sponsor, Smart, and our connecting sponsors, Caliber Home Loans, Raymond and Yo, who, by the way, has yo-yos out there. That was the smartest marketing I have seen in a while. So yo-yos, brilliant. Loved all of it. And without further ado, I would love to introduce our presenting sponsor today, Consumers Energy. I'd like to introduce Lauren Royston. She is the Community Affairs Manager. Oh, yes, give her a round of applause. I love that this entire room probably does know her already, so this is actually great. But she is the Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy Michigan, their largest energy provider. She proudly serves the Southeast Michigan region, ensuring her friends and neighbors receive the hometown service Consumers Energy aims to provide. Lauren currently works out of the Royal Oaks Service Center. She is a community relations and economic development professional with almost 20 years of experience working in government and private industry. As you can see, she's the perfect speaker for this. And prior to joining Consumers Energy, she served as the Community Engagement Manager for Molina Healthcare and previously served as the Director of Economic Development for the City of Novi. In addition, she worked as a manager for the State of Michigan Workforce Development Agency. She is currently the Vice Chair of Oakland County Workforce Development Board and is the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors for Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Government Affairs Committee for the Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce. She is also not an overachiever, is what we're all learning. Lauren earned her bachelor's degree from Spelman College and graduated from Wayne State University with a master in public administration. And she currently is my neighbor and resides in Novi. So thank you so much, Lauren. Join us.
Who cannot love Tara? Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Lauren Royston. She just told you all about me. Thank you again to the Troy Chamber for having us here today. We are honored to partner with the Troy Chamber. If you have seen me before, you know I like to share a little bit of information or fun facts about Consumers Energy. We are more than the folks that send you a monthly bill, because that will continue. You'll always get your monthly bill. But people, planet, and prosperity, that's our triple bottom line. And those are the pillars, the guiding pillars that we use to execute our business every day. And so Consumers Energy, we've provided reliable, affordable energy to Michigan customers since 1886. It is a combination utility responsible for serving 6.7 million of Michigan's 10 million residents, with close to 1 million customers right here in Oakland County. We are primarily the gas provider here in Southeast Michigan, and so that means we have a lot of assets. It's about 2,400 miles of gas transmission pipeline, 27,500 miles of distribution pipeline. We have 15 storage fields where we store the gas and try to keep the prices down for you, store them in the summertime. And then our service territory includes every county in Michigan's Lower Peninsula. So what we're doing right now, we are embarking on a 20-year clean energy journey. Our clean energy plan is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to transform the way we provide energy to our customers. So in June 2021, just last year, we announced a sweeping proposal to end coal use by 2025, 15 years faster than we had previously planned. And this plan helps us protect the environment for future generations and positions Consumers Energy as a national leader in clean energy transformation. And so that 20-year blueprint looks like we'll be among the first utilities in the country to go coal-free by 2025. We'll use 90% clean energy resources. We'll utilize nearly 8,000 megawatts of solar energy to power Michigan homes and businesses. We'll stay on the path to achieve net zero carbon emissions, and we'll create price stability and save customers about $650 million through 2040. So, yep, all that to say, I'm pretty happy about that too. I just want to see, I don't care if it's 20 cents a bill, I'm just happy to see a reduction. So, but yeah, all that to say, we want to help Michigan communities thrive. We want to support our businesses and we want to support our communities. So we're just better placed to work, live, play, all those great things. So I just wanted to share that information with you today. But now on to the fun stuff. I get to introduce Karen Drew. So she can be seen Monday through Friday on Local 4 News. She spends her time busting the bad guys during her investigative reports as part of the Local 4 Defenders. Karen really is an integral part of the news team, kind of a jack of all trades, whether she's scuba diving with the police looking for evidence of a cold case murder, escaping a burning house with the help of local fire departments to show the best way to avoid the flames, or hiding out during surveillance following scammers and lawbreakers. Karen Drew sure keeps us. Let's talk. Okay. So she keeps busy. So when Karen was young, she told her classmates in high school she wanted to be a TV reporter. Most believed she would follow her dream, nominating her as most determined. But others weren't so sure, nominating her a class clown. That's so true. Her coworkers of WDIV will vouch for her. She sure does she does work hard, but you can also find Karen behind the scenes of many pranks in the newsroom. Oh. The oldest of two, Karen grew up in northwest suburbs of Chicago and attended Southern Illinois University. She graduated with a degree in radio TV communications and started her career in Dixon, North Dakota as a one-man band. So basically, she shot her own stories, wrote them, edited them, anchored the newscast, and even did the cleaning in the newsroom, which prepared her to leave those burning buildings. And
How big is that market? Bismarck's market 150. And I moved out in 3 months, like, we're shutting it down. So I did a quick stint at Olive Garden. But this bio's so long, so it's all good.
well, I just want to say they might not.
Questions to ask today.
Who wants to hear more?
They took it from the website, and I should have traded it. But
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Karen Drew.
You seriously are amazing. I love energy in the morning, right? So I think a lot of times when we get invited to these things, sometimes we're like excited, and sometimes, it's like a checking the box, and like I have to go to this or whatever. But I want to have this, like, let's have fun, right? So I've got some undercover video to show right now. No, just kidding. Ethan was like, "You're not going to really be busting us on something." No. But let's have a conversation. It's a forum, but let's all feel free. Like if I'm asking questions and you want to throw in something, let's talk, because sometimes it gets a little boring if it's just blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we all are excited to be here. Obviously, if you don't know the panelists, we have Ethan Baker, the mayor of Troy, who's going to bring us some great insight in terms of what's going on in the city. And we're also talking about city-county relationships. So Dave Coulter, Oakland County Executive, will be here to kind of try to talk about the mending of how we work together and as we progress after COVID. We were talking about that beforehand. It's nice to be together, right? And Christine Roeder from MEDC, Senior Vice President, and I think that's an important part to bring in too, just to see how we all blend and how we work together, and where are we now, where are we going, and what are our goals. So I'm going to kind of start with you, Ethan, just because you're sitting right next to me.
Busting the bad guys.
Right. When people, let's just start just super generic, because I think there's a lot of questions just in terms of where are we in terms of cities, developments, and our relationships. What do you see where Troy is now, and what are you hoping for?
It's a good question. Well, first, thank you, Tara. Thank you, Chamber, for having us all together. It is good to see all of you. This event is one of my favorites, and it's nice to have such a big group here today and to celebrate. We've got a lot of council members here as well, and some city staff as well. So thank you, Troy, for showing up too. City of Troy is... We're doing well, right? But we're always looking ahead. We've got to look to the future, because if we don't, we're going to fall behind, right? I mean, I think that's a mistake that some cities and townships make in the area, is they're really focused on, well, what do we do tomorrow? But you really got to look at what are you going to do for the next 10 to 20 years. And so we're a built-out city here in Troy, for the most part, as you know. But we've got to look at what we can do to continue to attract businesses, continue to allow for infill development, and kind of revitalizing and revamping what we have around. So we're really focused on, updating our master plan in the city of Troy, which will not only focus on some of the residential pockets that need some attention, but also the whole business corridor in the district and what it looks like. As you know, city of Troy is the biggest city in Oakland County from a population standpoint. From an asset standpoint, we're one of the biggest in the country, well, all right, state, whatever. In the world, Karen, in the world.
Let them get them away.
Yeah, right.
We're the best city in the whole wide world.
All right, take a deep breath.
Politicians
Too much coffee.
sometimes
Too much coffee.
exaggerate a little bit, but okay.
I was at his economic outlook yesterday, so yes. No, okay. Actually, number one accomplishment in the city of Troy is Dave Coulter's wearing a tie this morning, and I am taking credit for that. So anyway, we look to the future. We look at what we can do to make sure we retain the businesses we have. Obviously, coming out of COVID, it's a lot of what ifs still, but we're starting to see, who's coming back to the office. But really, like I said, it's about that long-range forecasting and planning to what we can do to continue to incentivize people to stay here and still attract all the businesses that come from all over the country and truly the world to the city of Troy.
What's Focus Troy about? Because that's through the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yeah, so
What's
Focus
that
Troy.
connection?
Yeah, that's an initiative that Tara and I started last year, essentially. It's really been rolled out this year, where we're going around the city and talking to businesses, small and large, really everything that could possibly exist, to kind of get a feel for what employees are saying, what the employers are saying, what they need from the city of Troy. And it started as something let's get out there, Tara, and we'll take some pictures and we'll talk to people and help highlight some people. But what it really turned into was a great listening opportunity for us to kind of feel like, wow, we hadn't thought of that, or thank you for sharing that insight. And we've had some great conversations with businesses so far, and we're sharing that information on social media. And I look at that as some data collection for some of that long-range planning that we need to do. So we can take what we learn. I'm almost done. Sorry. We can take what we learn, and I can share that information with our city manager, Mark Miller, or Mark Adams, who's our new economic development specialist. Where are you, Mark? I know you're here. Coming from the county, you gave him to us. Appreciate that. So that information is going to be key to how we look at long-range planning for our business community.
And I'm going to bring Christine in here, just in terms of MEDC. Then when you take, because I'm going to kind of go off script. What's Troy, in a sense, doing right? And also give me some insight and scoop on what we can learn from here in Troy and other communities. What else do they have to put on their radar?
So we always point to Troy and Oakland County as one of the best places for economic development activity in the state. They are by far, and Mark coming from the county, and we have a couple of other economic developers in the audience. Troy has always been a community that's on the radar of companies to relocate, to be attracted, to grow. During COVID, we were pretty thrilled that our pipeline of deals for the state I remember March 2020 thinking everything was stopping. All of these projects are stopping. All of our places are closing. It was, just such a challenging time for all of us. Well, just less than a year from then, a company named Flex and Gate announced a big, expansion here in Troy, like 240 new jobs, over 50 million of investment. That doesn't happen without a community that is forward-looking, welcoming to businesses, and attracting, a more diverse economy. So we look to Troy and other communities here in Oakland County under, the county executive's leadership as well. It's just the kind of county that we can count on to, and community that we can bring a company into. We know that they're going to be handled professionally. They have an incredible city manager, and the work that they do with their building and permitting and all of those types of things that are real concerns for companies when they're coming into communities. So I would say it's a best practice. I mean, I don't want to go too far, but
The best city in the whole
Best
wide
in the
world.
world.
I don't know about that, but I would say that
It's
Troy
working, it's
definitely
working, right?
is,
Catchy. It's gonna go viral. Hashtag.
it's a best practice that we do point to, and we work really closely with the community day in and day out. So
So Dave, I'm going to bring you in then, because you talk all about these 7 goals of thriving. That this kind of comes into, okay, a healthy county, healthy city, and no matter what city you are from, obviously in Oakland County or nearby, we can learn from this, and you've been effective in setting those goals and achieving them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the takeaway from this question and what you've heard from the mayor and the MEDC here is that economic development is a team sport. It truly is. You don't just hire an economic development director who goes out and then finds companies and brings them in, and it's all, well, it is truly a team sport. And from the county perspective, we do have a great reputation for economic development here, and thank you for saying that. We have a really great professional staff. But the reality is, and I learned this firsthand when I became county executive, because I used to be the mayor of Ferndale for 9 years before I was a county executive. And one of the things I realized kind of early on was the way state law is written and the way the incentives are written, the counties actually don't have financial incentives to offer companies to come move here. The MEDC, the state of Michigan can offer those. Actually, local communities like Troy have more incentive tools that in their toolbox of incentives to get you. The county really doesn't have any. So we depend on the partnerships, the strong partnerships that we have. So that's why a lot of times you'll hear the county and me talk about it's the quality of life here, because the one thing that we can offer is a skilled and educated workforce. We can help with that. We can help with great communities and parks and roads. We're working on that. But all of the things that make this a great county to live in, because then that helps attract companies who need to get workers. But when it comes to the straight up economic development tools and incentives, we rely on our partners, and we have to be on the same page with those. And that's why we're always talking to each other, and it really is a team effort.
You say team, NFL draft, let's bring that up. Is anyone watching that last night?
A little bit,
Yeah, I wasn't. I was watching like Encanto for the 7th time. But my husband was watching, but obviously I was thinking like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be crazy when the NFL draft comes to Detroit. And I work downtown, clearly, so we're all talking about how they're gonna develop Campus Martius and the stage. But I mean, this is gonna stretch. I mean, we're gonna get millions, and we're gonna get so much attention, and that brings in Troy in terms of, we're a great spot in terms of right off the interstate hospitality. So how are you, Mr. Mayor, going to
You just touched
capitalize
everything,
on
right?
that?
No, so the chamber actually has a hospitality committee that I attend and several of us try to get to when they have those regular meetings, and it's really exciting for them, right? Especially coming out of COVID, where our hotels and our restaurants took such a big hit. To know that there's going to be such an influx of people coming into our city is very, very exciting. And because we've got I-75. I think we're 6 miles
there's
from
no
the Detroit
construction
border, right?
issues at
Never
all
any
there.
construction on I-75. Yeah, it's perfect. No, but we are kind of internally thinking about what we need to do as a city, but we depend on the business leaders in the community also to kind of tell us what they're looking at. And there's still hotels being built in the city of Troy for the overflow. We know the city of Detroit has a shortage of hotel rooms, right? So they're going to come up to Troy, which means they're going to use our restaurants. They're going to use our shopping. I mean, they come to Somerset anyway, right? But there's going to be a lot of economic activity in the city of Troy because of that. So we'll do whatever we can to work with our hospitality committee and crew and kind of coordinate, what they need from us.
you're talking also customer service. We want to talk about that in terms of an atmosphere. I know you post a lot in social media. Just know in terms of opening and businesses and that welcoming spirit, because I really feel like that's important because we're still tentative. We're still coming out of a pandemic and you want to feel comfortable and but at the same time you want to support local, because my heart breaks for some of these businesses that didn't make it. What is Troy doing to ensure that the businesses that have been able to survive continue to, and then to bring in some more?
Right, so that's a big part of it. I think you talk about the social media a little bit. I think one of my bigger roles, strangely enough, is out there posting that stuff on social media and showing the people who are Googling the city of Troy or looking into things that we're an active, exciting, fresh place to be. Right? I think that goes a long way towards encouraging businesses to look at Troy as a place to
That's why I retweet you a lot, because I want you got a great following.
It works every now and then. I'm like, oh, see, there you go. But that's a big part of it. And we don't want, there's been bad news in Troy. We've had some things, I mean, we had a city manager that went to federal prison and stuff, and I can't believe I brought that up today, but we still do it.
Speaking of that, let's roll tape.
Your comms person is like, you're off script, Mayor, you're off script.
I'm out of control. But my point to that is, for a while, if you Googled Troy, that's what you were seeing, right? Well, who wants to locate there? So we're working really hard on this council specifically. We want the good news to come out of Troy. We want some civility among all of us. That's very important. The division shows between us. It starts, internally, but it leaks out, and then before you know it, Bank of America is leaving the 350 jobs, right? Well, someone who's looking to fill that space might say, "Oh, there's a lot of muck in the city of Troy. Maybe we'll look somewhere else." Right. If we don't have that and we're not leaking that out, not that it exists, but if it's not happening, right? It goes a long way towards retaining businesses and attracting new ones.
So Christine, I bring you in then on small business and the atmosphere, and what is, how can your organization help and assist, and what else do you need to improve that small business atmosphere?
Right. So starting back in March 2020, we launched about $120 million in small business grants that went to restaurants, gyms, nail salons, hair salons, that type of business that was really impacted for several months of shutdowns, slow opening, you can do this, you can't do that. So we poured as much money as we possibly could into trying to keep them afloat. Obviously, not all of them have made it, and that's really disappointing. Some of our favorite places aren't there anymore. But what we are doing now in working with our Oakland County and our local communities through Main Street programs, through our small business offices throughout the state, is making sure that the companies and the small towns across the state, our suburban communities, and our urban downtowns have the grant money or the ability to improve their marketing, to be able to get facade improvements. Like, those types of things really matter when we're doing placemaking, making sure that communities are still the quality of life, Dave, that you need, or excuse me, County Executive Coulter, that you need to have to be able to attract people here. So we are standing up actually a small business division at the MEDC post-pandemic. To be able to really laser focus on the small businesses, because so much of what we've done over the years has been on large corporate companies.
Yeah.
We're going to work more closely with our locals on small business activities.
And then, Dave, that brings in the Business Forward program that you've spent a lot of attention, so tell the folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, hugely excited about that because we're hugely committed to our small businesses. It's great when GM announces a new plant in Lake Orion and we celebrate that and 2,500 new jobs, and it's wonderful. But 90% of the businesses in Oakland County are small businesses under 50, and they're the backbone of the economy here. And so we've really leaned in on that. And they were the hardest hit during COVID, obviously, right? We gave grants, not loans, but grants to 15,000 small businesses in Oakland County during the pandemic. And I learned yesterday, no county in Michigan got more PPP loans in the state than Oakland County did. And that wasn't an accident. We worked very closely. Any businesses here got a PPP loan? Yeah, thank you. And the economists told us yesterday that was a lifesaver in keeping those folks afloat. But now, moving forward.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick because this is a sidebar. No, it's important, but if anybody knows people who got loans who shouldn't have, email me.
Right?
That got me so mad. I'm working on that story.
Yeah,
I'm
good
not
for
saying
you.
it happened in Troy, but there's some people that gets me
good for
so
you, because
freaking irritated.
for the people who needed that money,
KDrew, WDID.com.
thank you. No, that's That's important. That's important. So now going forward, here they are, they're struggling to kind of figure out, and what we also heard yesterday at the economic forecast was that this is the group of businesses that's going to have the hardest time getting back to normal. So we created a program called Business Forward. Basically what we did is we took our one-stop shop for small businesses, which used to be up at the county campus, and we turned it on its head. We said, I said, how many businesses did they service last year? And it was about 400, which is great, but if we can get a team of people that are actually out in the communities working, knocking doors, working with the chambers of commerce, working with the DDAs, we could reach a lot more people. Well, how many? Well, a team of 9 could reach 4,000 people. So we use some of our federal dollars because we think this is transformational change. So we created a group called Business Forward, and these are, right now it's 9 people who are literally working in the communities, not at the campus, so that you as a small business owner don't have to go up to Oakland County to get these resources. Because this is, even though we don't have the big incentives, this is where we can really lean in. And so this team is doing an amazing job, and I have to really sell it hard because I'm about to go to our Board of Commissioners, and we have a wonderful Board of Commissioners, right, Penny? Penny is the commissioner for this area and asked to hire some more people so that we can cover all areas of the county. But it's really important because these are folks that, haven't had these kind of resources, access to capital, grants, and expertise. So we're getting out of our bunker in the county, and we're embedding these people directly in the local community to help support the local efforts for our small businesses.
I think that's important because sometimes even though it's not a hike, you're like, oh, I got to go all the way up Telegraph or do whatever, and they don't recognize all the issues that you might be seeing in Ferndale specific or whatever. You're also helping with scholarships and kids, and that was what, Oakland 80.
Yeah, so Oakland 80 is an idea that I stole, and I don't mind stealing good ideas, but it was actually literally in the governor's first State of the County address, or State of the State address. She said, we don't have enough people in this state that have some kind of degree or certification beyond high school, and we need more. If these businesses are going to locate in Michigan, they need people with skills and training. And she said something that was startling to me, which is only about 40% of adults in Michigan have something beyond a high school diploma. That's unacceptable, and Michigan is way behind. Well, so then I listened to her speech, and I asked our economic development folks and our workforce, well, where are we in Oakland County? Because her goal, by the way, is to get to 60% of Michigan adults by 2030. So I asked the simple question, because I'm good at asking simple questions. Where are we in Oakland County? Well, it's about 61%. I said, oh, well, that's great. Should we just declare victory and wait for the state to catch up? Heck no! So I got together the leaders of our universities, our colleges, our skilled trades, everybody who offers these kinds of things, and said, what could we do? If the county really leaned in on this, if we really helped you, provided some support for this, what could we do? And they came up, not me, they came up with the audacious goal that we could get to 80% of our adults in Oakland County to have something beyond a high school degree by the year 2030. So that's the path that we're on, and we think that that's going to be critical. That's one way the county can help support your local economic development efforts by getting more people the skills. And it's not just for our businesses, but it's so that they get better wages, so they have better, they can provide for their family and do all the things that they need to do. So and truly a partnership, because we couldn't have done that if the state hadn't done some of the scholarship programs and the Michigan Reconnect and the various tuition reimbursement programs. So it's a team effort. It really is.
So will you work on that part, MEDC, working on broadband and talent retention and all of that? Talk to me about what you're working on and what your hopes are, because there's stumbling blocks. It's hard.
Oh, absolutely. And another pandemic lesson was the lack of broadband in so many, in areas you would never think didn't have broadband. So the governor did establish an Office of Broadband Connectivity. So that office is going to be charged and is working on identifying the areas, obviously, of the state that are the hardest hit there, and then establishing the plan and the work that's going to need to be done to bring broadband to all corners of the state. We're also really focused on the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. That is the future, really, of our state for the automotive industry. All of you, especially here in Troy, you know that all of our OEMs are pivoting to electric. We have a lot at stake here in the state of Michigan. We have a lot of companies that make parts for the internal combustion engine. And so we really need to work hard at figuring out how we're going to help those companies make it to that next version of the auto industry. And we also need to make sure that we have the talent that's going to be able to do the job of the next, version of the auto industry. So making sure that we can reskill our engineers into, the electric, from mechanical to electrical, or the software programmers. We need to make sure that we have the colleges graduating people and retaining them in Michigan as much as possible. We are a top 10 state for STEM graduates, but we lose a lot of them out of the state. So we need to do a much better job of educating our college graduates of the opportunities here in Troy, Oakland County, and Michigan.
So let's talk retention then. What do you do? Because you do see a lot. They'll say, "I'm packing up and moving into Chicago," but then a lot of times they do come back after a few years because they want to be by family. I've seen that personally.
We have good, yeah, me too. And we call them the boomerangs, right?
Yeah,
They leave.
yeah.
Then they say, "Oh no, we've got to be back to Michigan," which we love because they have those years of experience. They can come back with some experience to work for our employers. But really, it's working with those employers and making sure that they, there's some schools that do a remarkable job at internships and apprenticeships and that type of thing, but not all of them really do. So it's really getting those universities. Mary Barra was at University of Michigan last week. She hadn't been there, obviously, during COVID. That is the biggest event that they have at the Ross Business School to be able to retain their graduates when they have a CEO of a Fortune 100 company coming in to talk directly to the students. So we need more activity from the business community. So shout out to all of you chamber members. If you can, work more closely with the universities in this area and outside of this area, develop that pipeline because you need to show these students the opportunities they have here. We have incredible quality of life. We have very low cost of living compared to where they're going, right? So if you're able to keep them here, show them the amazing downtowns and the cool things that we have for people to do here in Michigan and in Oakland County and Troy, we're going to keep more people. So that's really the challenge, is keeping them, but they need to know they can get a job that's something they really want to do.
And then build their life and their family. I'll bring you in, Ethan, in terms of Troy and what is next. You said early on when we were talking, we can talk about tomorrow, but we really do need to talk about what's in 5 years or 10 years. Do both. Tell me okay, this is kind of in the plan, and here's a really fun, crazy idea. Wouldn't this be cool? Tell me both.
Wow, all right. Well, so first, let me say we talked a lot to our residents, right? The beauty of local government is that we're in our neighborhoods. We're talking to our neighbors, the grocery stores, the library, wherever we are. So we hear a lot from them about good things and bad. So we're always, the first thing we have to manage is balancing out those residents who've been here a long time who don't want too much change, but also attracting those new people to come in here and stay in Troy, right? Or move to the city of Troy and recognize all that. And they want two very different things. So our immediate focus right now is trying to find that balance, right? That's the first thing we have to figure out, which includes, telling the people who've been here a long time or educating them on what a little bit of progress can do for them here, and they shouldn't be afraid of it. But also, we're looking at things like, we realize that the younger crowd, and I feel funny saying that because I'm a younger crowd, but I'm not really anymore. I mean,
I was just wanting to hold you accountable there.
It seems a little weird, right? But I have 3 kids, right? It's a different vibe. The people who don't have kids or are starting out in their careers, they're not necessarily moving to Troy. They're moving to Royal Oak. They're moving to Ferndale. They're down there where it's a little bit more of a hip vibe, right? So we're not trying to be Royal Oak. We're not trying to be Ferndale. I think if we do, we'll fail miserably. But we are increasing some residential in some of our, downtown. Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. A Big Beaver District area. It's not a downtown. We're trying to get more people to come in here and realize, hey, you can come to Troy, be close to all these restaurants and the shopping, walk around, enjoy some quality of life stuff, and also have the safety of our community, have all the resources of our community. So that's something we're focused on, not just for tomorrow, but for 10 years, right? How do we attract appropriate multifamily living in the right areas of our city to attract those people? But it's again difficult. We're built out, right? Up in the northern part of the city, it's very residential. It's very suburban. There's not high-rise condos around here. That's just not what the vibe is. And we want to do everything we can to say, okay, don't wait till you have kids to come back to Troy, because we know we have great public schools. But start your life here and figure it out. Get a job here. We're still low cost of living, especially compared to Birmingham, especially some of the areas, right? And we offer so much more. So the long-range thing that I'd love to shoot for, I'd love to see that we'll never have the downtown because we didn't develop that way, but that vibe of people moving around on their feet, living where they're shopping, where they're working, where they're eating, and also leaving these other neighborhoods kind of alone. So that balance, that's really the goal, I think.
Dave, how does that work in terms of development in counties? Because you see it. It works in some cities, and sometimes it's a challenge.
Yeah, and you've hit on a great issue, which is, as a region, and I think regionally, you know, we've spent too much time worried about what's happening in Wayne, Macomb, Oakland, different. We're all in this together, and we're competing against other regions in the country. And as a region, we're not growing. Too many of our graduates, too many of our young people are moving. So there's boomerangs, but there's not enough of them. And so if we're going to be competitive going forward in the next 5, 10, 15 years as a region, we got to do a lot better job of offering the things. And the mayor hit it on the head. You got to ask young people what they want. I mean, it seems simple and obvious. So I always use the example, when I was mayor of Ferndale, if you go to Ferndale now, you will see bike lanes on almost all of our roads. And to the mayor's point, a lot of the old timers, I got an earful. You know, I don't like driving by them. How are the snow plows gonna get around them? And nobody's using all this stuff. Well, what I said is, we don't have them because I wanted them personally, or the council wanted them. We did a lot of community engagement. We said we need younger families here. We want to fill up our schools. We want to fill up our homes. We need younger people. Let's ask them what they want. The two most popular things I did as mayor, I think, were the bike lanes and the skateboard park. And I would have never thought in a million years to build a skateboard park, because I thought it would be noisy and obnoxious. But we listened to the residents, and you go to our skateboard park now, it's the most wildly crazy used thing, because you got to listen to what young people want. And I don't think we've done that enough as a region, seriously. It's partly why I'm a transit advocate, because some of these kids today don't want a car, and they want to get to their job some other way. So it's an economic development tool as well as other things. And so I just think we need to, as government leaders, we need to be listening to what our younger residents tell us they want and the kind of quality of life that they want.
Christine, you're shaking your head a lot, so I'm sure you've heard this. Give me your insight.
Oh yeah, well, what he said, you know, we're not growing as a region, we're not growing as a state. We're losing. I mean, we're you know, the van lines take more people out than bring them in with their, you know, truckloads of furniture. So really, it's us working with, you know, attracting talent back to Michigan, attracting talent from outside of Michigan, identifying especially the schools that have the talent that we're going to need. You know, going in and recruiting from those places. We had a program a long time ago that I know Mark Adams and Shelley definitely remember, called Michigan, where we used to go out and talk to people that used to live in Michigan or are from Michigan, but they're in Silicon Valley, they're in Washington, D.C., they're in Chicago, and we would talk with them and say, oh, come back and look at these employers. So those are the kind of programs that we've tried, that we're looking to do more of, especially right now when we know that, again, talent-wise, talent is the new currency for economic development. We can do incentives all day long. If we don't have people that they're going to be able to hire, they're not going to come here. And other markets are winning in that space, you know, Austin and others. So we really need to do a better job.
And by the way, on that point, I just want to mention, since we're in Troy, this is an important point to make. Oakland County would have actually lost population over the last decade if it hadn't been for foreign-born residents who have moved here. So we have got to be more welcoming and inviting to people from all parts of the country to come here, and Troy is a great example of this. The diversity in this community is amazing, and they haven't detracted from Troy. They have added to the quality of life and the jobs and the schools and all that they provide, the businesses that they start. So I also believe we have to start changing our mentality as a country around immigrants and people that we need to attract to this region, because we literally would have lost population in the last decade had it not been for foreign-born residents.
You had mentioned, you're going to say something.
Just quickly, ironically, the city of Troy gained population. Yeah. Everywhere else is losing. City of Troy gained. And I think a lot of that is, you know, we 29% foreign-born, obviously, which is a wonderful part of the fabric of our community. But it's the quality of life stuff we have focused on in Troy. We've really focused on green space and parks, our trails. We're trying to expand our trail system. Where a rail line didn't exist, it's very difficult. Just so you know. But you know, it is that quality of life stuff that you talked about, you both talked about. And so we do see people coming into Troy, and I think it's because those quality of life things are just what people want right now, right? That's what they're really looking for, and we have to stay on that path.
In terms of, I think healthcare, crime, those are big words that we mentioned, but sometimes they just need to be addressed in terms of, are there any obstacles we're seeing? Are there new developments? I know you were talking a little bit about health, Dave, earlier in terms of some of the programs that lure people, retain people. Talk to me a little bit.
I mean, I'm passionate about healthcare and especially mental health, which I was passionate about before COVID, and now I think everybody kind of gets. The one silver lining to me, or one of the silver linings of COVID, is that the stigma around mental health, I think, has been reduced. We now know that anybody can get it in any family and the like. So, but to your broader point, sometimes I think us politicians or us leaders can overthink these things. People want some pretty basic things. They want a safe neighborhood. They want a good school to send their kids. When somebody in the family gets sick, they want quality, affordable health care. They want decent roads and they want a decent job. Other than that, they almost want you to kind of leave them alone, right? And so that's where, people say, how do you stay so optimistic about working across the aisle in this bipartisanship, which seems to be dying? But when I focus on those things, it's all everybody's head nods. Let's fix the schools. Let's fix the roads. Let's fix healthcare. And everybody, regardless of what community I'm in or what affiliation they are, kind of go, yeah, I can agree on that. We can disagree on how to do it. So sometimes I think we got to focus on those issues, because that's why people are moving to Troy, because you have those things here, and that's what they're looking for.
In talking of development, Christine, you mentioned Austin as an example, but I think it's always important to say, oh, look at that area, or that community, that state. What are they doing different, that we can learn from, that we are able to? There's certain things we can't provide. We get that. Right. But are there any are you putting your eyeballs on any certain communities outside of Michigan and go, let's see what they're doing?
Yes, we benchmark against many communities. Austin's one of them because of the tech hub that they've created over the last 15 years. Obviously, Chicago is always one that we lose talent to, and that really speaks more to when you talk to and this is some of the research we've done, when you talk to people leaving Michigan State, Michigan, Oakland, to head to Chicago, a lot of it is that they want to live downtown. They want that experience. So I think that the state of Michigan, not the state, but our local communities have done a great job of putting a lot of money into downtown and quality of life, including what you've done here in Troy along Big Beaver, just because those are the kind of areas that the kids want, right? They want to have things to do. They want to be able to go to restaurants and whatever. So that's one. Boulder, Colorado is another one. That's another one. Shelley's shaking her head. And Mark, Boulder is one that's grown as well. That's that outdoor recreation pull, right? Well, Michigan, we may not have mountains, but we have a lot of cool things to do outside. We have skiing. We have all kinds of, we're a four-season state. We have, yeah, exactly. We have boating, we have all of that. So we're a four-season state. There's so much to do. I think you're going to be seeing more from us at the MEDC on outdoor recreation activities with the DNR and the governor's office. So it's really, how do we keep people here? Well, if they're going to Boulder and they're going to Denver because they want to do, the cool hiking and trails and skiing, we have a lot of that here. So do we need to do more of just promoting that? Do we need to invest more in it? Those are the questions I think our executive leadership is looking at.
Personally, I'll agree, only because I was lucky enough to go on vacation last week. We hit up Arizona and we were hiking. I had a great time, and my kids were like, where can we hike like this in Michigan? And I put it out on Facebook because I am very much of an outdoors person, but I didn't feel like, I know like UP, Pictured Rocks, but it's like I felt like I didn't have enough information. So just from a person who lives in Oakland County with kids who wants to spend outdoor time, I think that's a very valid point. We do have some resources, but sometimes we don't brag enough. And also market to all generations. You need that younger generation. I'll call myself a mid-generation, but you need to kind of make sure to let other folks know, that we have this. I want to ask from the Detroit perspective, because I work downtown, and unfortunately I've seen the demise since COVID. I used to go for lunch. So many places shut down. There's a coffee place I can go to, but it shuts down at 1, where I used to go all day. Used to see all those like cute kids in their little zip-up hoodies with their little badge. Look at those little whatever, whatever they are, millennials, whatever. Look at that, we're in a hip city. And I have to say, it does not feel like that, at least 9 to 5. Maybe if you're going to a game or something. But I'm like, it took so long for us to get there. What's your perspective? When are we going to come back? Because you're saying people want to go to Chicago, and I'm telling my friends, Detroit's so cool. Well, it was 2 years ago, but just I don't know how long it's going to take. What do you?
Well, we're hearing from employers that are coming back. So You know, next week, the state of Michigan brings their employees back for the first time. The state of Michigan,
Is that mandatory, or do you know?
tens of thousands of employees are going to be on a hybrid schedule.
Okay.
So some are every day, if it's their choice to be every day. But I mean, a lot of people in many of your companies probably know there are people that don't need to be in the office every day anymore. So there are a lot of adjustments going on with office footprints, with how many people they need here and there, including the MEDC. Our actual return date isn't until July, but they're already figuring out. We don't, I don't need an office up there, that kind of thing, right? So, so it is very depressing. I was in Lansing for the first time this week for an in-person meeting in the MEDC headquarters in 2 years, which is crazy because I was up there every week. I live here in Metro Detroit, so so to be up there, but the restaurants, Karen, most of them are closed. There's one that people, all the lobbyists and people used to go to, that was full. And I did see a lot of people there walking up and down the street. But once the state of Michigan employees are back in Lansing, I think it's going to make a big difference, and maybe those shops will open back up or stay open longer. Downtown Detroit, I know Cranes has reported quite a bit. Another news outlet. But just, okay.
There are others, even though we're the best one in the world.
Yeah. The world, Channel 4, NBC affiliate Detroit. So we have, Cranes reported just last week about the Renaissance Center losing Deloitte. So I don't have a magic, wand to figure this out. I know it's a huge concern for our elected leaders on making sure that we have businesses that make their attorneys come back and work in person. I mean, just friends of mine, I don't know anyone that was full-time that is back full-time, unless they're working, in a plant or a restaurant, that kind of thing. But if they're office workers, they're in Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, that type of thing. So
I guess the whole country is dealing with that, so we're not by ourselves, but it is a big obstacle.
In Italy, Italy bankers, it's a big issue for the banking industry in Italy, and all of the Milan and all these other areas, they're struggling too. So it's a worldwide issue, I think, bringing people back.
And Dave, I asked Ethan this. I want to ask you, your kind of dream hope plan, not for tomorrow, but for that 5 or 10 year mark. Is there something big on the horizon for Oakland County that we're going after? And it's okay if we don't get it, but it's on our dashboard there that we're looking for?
Well, I'm not giving up on transit, just so you know. I'm going to take a bite at that. A lot of people have tried before me and have the bruises to prove it, and I don't have as nearly as many, so I still have energy around that. But I think that, this is a little harder to measure, and it's maybe a little squishier. But for me, when I'm done in this role, in somewhere in that time frame, I hope that I will have done something to help bring this region together and get it on the same page and truly understand that our competition is these other regions in the country and in the world, and that we really get serious about working together to keep folks here, to grow this region, to promote this region. There's the assets that we have here are amazing, but we don't promote them right enough. We don't invest in some of them well enough. And it's only gotten worse because we've allowed political discourse to just chew us apart. I mean, I got to tell you, I really thought a global pandemic might actually bring people together early in the pandemic. Wow, what a naive idea that was. But apparently, Vladimir Putin has all brought us all together. We all agree that he's an idiot. So at least we have one political issue that we can. But just to, and I don't think it's pie in the sky, but just to get us to focus on these things that we can do together as a region, the ways that we can work together, the values that we all share, and start getting serious about competing as a region with the Bostons and the Chicagos and the LAs, and we can do it. We have the assets. We haven't had the collective will to do that, and I'd love it if we could get there.
Whenever I do interviews, I always go to the person at the end and say, is there something that you wanted to say, you wish you would have said, so I'm going to throw that all your way, because a lot of times you're like, man, I wanted to either promote this idea, mention this, or whatever. So I'll start with you, Ethan, in terms of, is there anything that you want the audience to know or that we might have missed as we wrap up?
Yeah, probably. I'll think of it in the car on the way home. But what Dave just said, politicians are afraid to say this is what we want, like moonshot stuff, right? Because then we never, if we don't live up to it, it's part of the game. But we've definitely have lost the spirit of coming together for certain things. You don't have to come together for everything. We're not. Dave and I aren't going to agree on certain things. All of you aren't going to agree on certain things. That's we're humans, and that's okay. But we do need to get back a little bit to the idea of, if you get, a good portion of what you want, that's okay. You don't have to get 100% of it. Focus on the 60, 70% and take that win, and then look at the other person and say, oh, I see where you're coming from, right? My wife's a therapist. Many of you know that. And so we talk a lot, right? I mean, a lot of emotions. We talk about the psychology behind things. It's important, right? People are, we're all, the one thing we do still all have in common is that I think we're all human, right? So we can always count on that, right? So we're all going to bring baggage at times to things. We're all going to bring, preconceived notions and those concerns, and we're all going to get hurt and bristled at times too. We have to be able to look past that a little bit. And we try to do that in the city of Troy now. We went through a rough time, like I said. We have to really look at, so our business community knows that we're stable, we're okay, and that we're out looking for you so we can better represent the city as a whole. And I want the people here to know that. I know a lot of you, I talk to a lot of you and see a lot of you, but it's so important to know that we are really trying to come to a place where, we're nonpartisan in the city of Troy. Our charter prohibits us from talking about political party. That gives us a great advantage to just talk to our neighbors and our residents and businesses and say, hey, this isn't about the R or the D. It's about what matters to you, what's important for our city. So we need to use that opportunity to work with our residents, which will then filter up to Oakland County and the world, right? No, I mean, that's my goal, right? I mean, we have to do that and celebrate that and recognize that we have a unique opportunity in city government to really make that happen.
Anything you want to say that's coming up in Troy real quick? I know you do like and you don't have to go on and on, but
too late.
I live in Troy, so there's lots of great things. But I know we do the maple syrup at the Nature Center.
Carla's back there for the Nature Center.
I love the Nature Center. But like for folks who might not live in Troy, is there anything coming up in the next 30, 60 days that you're like, hey, this is coming up? Put on your calendar.
Well, State of the City address is May 18th,
I'm
right?
popping my popcorn.
I'm sure you will, yeah. I know you'll be on. So May 18th, and I'll talk a lot about this stuff because we approve our budget on May 9th in a public hearing. But we've got some great, we've got the Gene M. Stein Community Park opening on Town Center Drive. We're proposing a big expansion to that park that I think is going to really draw people into the community or from the community down to our civic center. The businesses and restaurants, they are flourishing in the city of Troy, right? I mean, for the most part,
Are you still doing the market at the Troy?
Farmers Market.
Yeah.
Oh, you made Cindy
that?
very happy.
Yeah.
Look at Cindy Stewart, our Farmers Market manager, among many other things. I think it starts, Cindy, June 17th, which is a Friday, 11 to 4 new hours in the new Gene M. Stein Community Park, Town Center Drive in Livernois. That's an awesome thing we have. These are the things that are happening. This is what our residents want. This is what they told us they want, right? They want these things, and they're happy to have the opportunity. So a lot of good stuff. Our budget. Tune into the State of the City, and you'll hear more. How about that?
Dave, anything you wanted to mention that you might not have forgotten, or just anything also too for folks like, hey, this is something big coming up in Oakland County. Keep your
not event-wise. Maybe the one thing I would touch on, because we didn't get into it a lot, although you mentioned it as well, is the electrification of vehicles is changing the world, folks. Advanced manufacturing is changing the world. And so when we talk about these big global issues, no matter what your business is, it's going to eventually somehow get touched and affected by the transformation and the transformational change in the way we build vehicles. One of the scary parts, and you can look at this from a scary perspective, is that an electric vehicle needs a whole lot less parts than a regular vehicle, right? So if you're a supplier, an auto supplier, you already know that. But if auto suppliers are a customer of yours, you're going to find that out very soon. So we've still got a lot to do. While we're kind of excited about the future, and we know that we need to move in this direction, and we're headed in this direction, and I was as excited as anybody that General Motors is going to build their trucks, their electric trucks up in Lake Orion, so that's great for our county. But we have not yet thought through totally, and I'm guessing that many businesses haven't either, how that transformation is going to affect you. And not just electrification, but the other mobility changes from autonomous vehicles to the like. And so educate yourself, go to workshops. MEDC is really good on this and has some great information. But it is a transformational life is not going to look the same in 20 years as from an economic perspective than it does today as a result of this. And you need to get ahead of it.
Thank you. Christine.
I want to make sure that everyone knows that coming out of the last couple of years and all the challenges we've had with small businesses, our corporate leaders, all and everything in between. The state of Michigan right now, we have the strongest pipeline of leads and opportunities that we've had in the 20 years I've been at the MEDC. So I think that trickles down to Oakland County, to the city of Troy. There is a lot of opportunity out there when it comes to the transformation of the auto industry, whether it's battery assembly plants or the modules or chip manufacturing. All of these things are opportunities for our state. So I want to make sure everyone leaves optimistic to know that there are opportunities we're working really hard on at the state and local level to bring to Michigan to make sure that the kids that graduate have jobs in cool companies, and that we're going to hopefully work really closely with these downtowns and suburban centers to make sure that commercial businesses thrive going forward as well. So we're focused on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, everyone, for taking time in your morning. I didn't think I was wrapping up. All right, but I do appreciate everyone and their time and their perspective. I think we all learned a little bit of a lot of things. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone.
And great job, Karen. Thank you very much for moderating us.
So I will say, I don't think I've ever laughed this much at this event, so we nailed it. A few really good takeaways that I learned from today is, how do we word this again? We're the best city in the world! How magical. Guys, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you. Christine Roeder with the MEDC, County Executive Dave Coulter, Mayor Baker, and Karen Drew for joining us. Let's give them a round of applause. And I also, again, want to thank all of our sponsors, including our presenting sponsor, Consumers Energy, and Lauren, who gave the best intro I have ever heard. And now you have a job as an agent. So congratulations. And guys, tune in. As we talk about all the great things happening in Troy, I always like to give you the reminder. Go to troychamber.com. Read your TC Insider on Mondays. We have all of the great news and information and all the events that are happening in the city. So please pay attention to that. And finally, we have some upcoming events. On March 26th, we have our Diversity HR Summit. That was presented by Beaumont, and that is completely free to Troy Chamber members, so make sure you come. We have our CEO series with Jeff Sloan on June 16th. Our Tee Off for Troy golf outing on June 27th. July 26th, we have our Diversity Expo, and that is a women, veteran, and minority-owned business expo. There are 4 other chambers involved, and that will be at the Royal Oak Farmers Market. And finally, our August 23rd CEO series with John Bellardo. And guys, that's all we have for you today. And a special thanks to CMN TV and all of the viewers who are watching back at home. And have a great rest of your day. Oh, we have a hand up.
Just a brief question.
Yeah. Go.
May 26th there, or?
I like to think backwards. And the answer is May. So you get a bonus point and a free coffee. So congratulations. This what tells you when you don't have enough coffee. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much now. Bye-bye.